on put to death with the sword. So immediately that just happened. When he saw that this was met with approval among the Jews, he proceeded to seize Peter also. So this happened during the festival of unleavened bread. After arresting him, he put him in prison, handing him over to the guard to be guarded for 4 squads of 4 soldiers each. Herod intended to bring him out for public trial after the Passover. So Peter was kept in prison, but the church was earnestly praying to God for him. Remember, we've been talking about being in that posture of earnest prayer. And so something happened the night before Herod was to bring him to trial. Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers, bound with 2 chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. What translation is this? Let me just get the NKJV. This NIV sometimes, it really throws me off. Let me just get my usual NKJV. Right, so now behold an angel, verse 7, now behold an angel of the Lord stood by him, and a light shone in the prison, and he struck Peter on the side and raised him up, saying, Arise quickly, and his chains fell off his hands. Then the angel said to him, Guard yourself and tie on your sandals, and so he did. And he said to him, Put your garment on and follow me. So he went out and followed him, and did not know what was done by the angel, whether what was done by the angel was real, but thought he was seeing a vision. Then they went past the first and the second guard post. They came to the iron gate that leads to the city, which opened to them on its own accord, and went out and went down one street, and immediately the angel departed from him. So now Peter is almost sort of like coming to his senses, and he realizes this is actually not a dream, Now I know for certain that the Lord has sent his angel and has delivered me from the hand of Herod and from all the expectation of the Jewish people. So that when he had considered this, he came to the house of Mary, and the mother of John, whose surname was Mark. Remember, in those early days, they used to gather together in homes to pray. That's how the early church used to do things. So they were there. Many were gathered together praying. And as Peter knocked at the door of the gate, a girl named Rhoda came to answer. When she recognized Peter's voice because of her gladness, she did not open the gate, but ran in and announced that Peter stood before the gate. They said to her, You are beside yourself. Yet she kept insisting that it was so. So they said, It is his angel. And now Peter continued knocking, and when they opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. But motioning to them with his hand to keep silent, he declared to them how the Lord had brought him out of the prison. And he said, Go tell these things to James and to the brethren. And he departed and went to another place. So now the searching began, but that's not my interest today. But the point I need for us to understand today is the church was praying. The word of God says at the very beginning, the church was earnestly praying concerning Peter because they had just lost James. And so they thought, if we're not careful, we're going to lose Peter as well. So the church began to pray. They came together in the house of John, the mother of John, and they were praying concerning Peter. So by the time Peter is getting out of prison and God miraculously sets him free by sending the angel, he goes to that home, and this young girl opens the door and she recognizes, this is Peter. This is the person we are praying for. Like, he's actually speaking to me or standing in front of me. And it's so surreal, it's unbelievable. Like, she can't bring her thoughts to connecting that the prayer item has been answered. So it's like, sometimes we're praying, and then God answers in such a powerful way, like He did for them, until you just can't bring your mind to comprehend what just happened. And so what she does, because she's so happy, she doesn't open the door. She goes and tells the people, you guys, the person we're praying for, this prayer item has just been answered. And the people are like, no, how can it be answered? And you're besides yourself. Where is Peter? If genuinely you're saying he's the one that is on the door. And you can see that the church never stopped praying. They kept on persisting. They were consistent in the place of prayer. And that's what we're talking about today, the posture of prayer. You've got to stay there. You've got to linger in the presence of God. It is so exciting and so wonderful when the knock happens, when you're praying, and when you're answering in the middle of the prayer. It is that which you've been praying for that has come forth, because you've been consistent, because you've been honest in the place of prayer, because you've not stopped telling God about it, because you've been knocking. You've been knocking the doors. You've been seeking. You've been searching. You've been asking. We're told to ask, we shall receive. Knock, the door will be open. Seek and you shall find. These are things that we need to continually be in. You're asking God, you're seeking God, you're knocking until you see the answer. And that's the same thing that was happening in the book of 1 Kings 18, where we've been talking about almost the whole of last week. God says to Elijah, go present yourself to Ahab. I will send rain on earth. Elijah does what he knows to do best. He silences the voices of the prophets of Baal. He does the best that he can do. And then he tells Ahab that the rains are coming. And then what does he do? He gets to the posture. He gets into the right position, and he begins to call forth for the rains. We've got to stay consistent, waiting, but in the place of prayer. So they're asking God. The word of God says the church was honestly praying because it pleased the Jews that James, the brother of John, was killed. So the church realized that if we don't offer prayer, so the word of God says, but constant prayer was offered to God for him, who? Peter, by the church, because he was in prison. And the wembe ulikokwe ule. Because Herod was not joking. He already had a calendar, an appointed time for which he was going to present Peter before the people. Because him is seeking the love of the people, the appreciation, the validation of people. And they were happy when these people were being persecuted. But the church realized we've got to pray. So when the miracle is coming and knocking, these people are praying. The miracle is knocking. And they're almost asking, Rhoda, why do you want us to conclude prayers by telling us Peter has come, yet we cannot see him? But Peter genuinely has come. Their prayers have moved heaven into something so supernatural. That release from prison was so supernatural. It almost sounds like a movie, but it happened because of constant prayer. Supernaturally, Peter was set free. Constant prayer, the posture of prayer, your heart in the right position, your mind all intertwined, your spirit committed in the place of prayer will bring deliverance even for your sons and daughters. You waiting upon God in the place of prayer, God is going to set free. This man had been locked up in the innermost cell. The way the word of God describes it, it was a place where even if people wanted to rescue him, they couldn't. But the power of God can reach to your son. The power of God can reach to your daughter. The power of God can deliver your loved one from that place of torment, from that cage that the enemy has locked them up in. Because you are calling upon the heavens. God was just teaching, Jesus was teaching them about the place of consistent prayer. And he said, keep on asking. Like the widow, she kept on going to the unjust judge. And God says, how much more us who pray to the righteous judge, the King of Kings? Will he not come quickly and answer the prayers that we're making day and night? The place and the posture of prayer is going to bring liberation to your entire community. It's going to bring the liberation to your entire siblings. It's going to bring about the freedom that you feel you've been dreaming about. Stop dreaming about it and start praying concerning it, and see whether God will not reach to that place and bring about the liberation that you're asking from him. Constant prayer was being offered for who? For him, Peter. And one day, supernaturally, Peter is knocking on the door. They're in the room. They're praying for Peter. But Peter has been released because of prayer. As you're praying for your daughter, for your son, the Lord is causing them to come your way. The Lord is releasing them, and they are beginning a journey to come your direction. As you're praying for your loved ones, as you're praying that God is going to set them free from whatever captivity the enemy has locked them up in, the Lord is bringing them your way, fully free, liberated, and delivered. Elijah never stood up until he saw the cloud, heard the sound. He had heard the sound of abundance, but that needed for the clouds to appear, bearing the rains so that the famine could end. And the only way that was going to be possible is if he got into the place of prayer. I pray that you will stop talking so much about it. You'll stop dreaming so much about it. You'll stop, telling people so much about it. And you will start praying concerning the matter, because that is how we get solutions in this kingdom of light. May God help us in every way. The miracle is